Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday to you. Welcome to another Tuesday, the 27th of June. Welcome to another coffee and chat. Got my coffee this morning and I'm loving the new, what is it called? Oatly Barista from Joya. And I really, really like it. It's a nice one. So I'm enjoying that in my coffee today. So I hope this Tuesday finds you well wherever you are in the world. And today I wanted to chat about the topic of comparison. When we compare ourselves to others, when we compare our journey to others, and when we compare where we are now versus where we want to be. So this comparison story. And it's really, something that we all find ourselves doing. We all, can look at others and it can bring up all sorts of things like jealousy, and not feeling good enough, and feeling upset and angry at where we are now, and angry at the world, and full of blame and shame, and all of these things when we do that. So it's really, we know that it's not good for us. Sometimes comparison can be a good thing. As we know, there's always a good side to everything. Sometimes that comparison can lead us to aspiring to be something different, and aspiring to be, to change and to move forward and to adapt and to rise up to the occasion and step into our authenticity. So there is always that element, that looking at others can do that. And if we are using that for that reason, that's great. Perfect. However, a lot of us do the opposite, which is to, when we compare ourselves to others, we often feel less than, right? We feel that, oh, they've got it together. We haven't, all right? They got further along. We haven't. And then we start looking for all the reasons why we aren't there. So our mind goes to all the things about all the things we did wrong, all the things we should have done, all the things we could have done differently or better, etc. And so we spend a lot of time and energy focusing on the past, focusing on things that were out of our control. It may be things like, you can't control the way the dog comes to you, what their genetic makeup is, what their past trauma is, all those kind of things. You can't control that. But we go there anyway, and we want to try and find blame and excuses and everything under the sun, that shows us that we could have done differently, should have done differently, or we can't do differently because of X, Y, and Z. But as I said, just takes a lot of energy that we're spending in that space, where we could be using that energy, that brain space and that energy, in actually doing things to move us forward, into help us feeling better, into recognizing how far we've come, into taking those next steps. All right. So when you catch yourself doing that, comparing yourself to others, or comparing where you are now, or comparing with another dog that you had, when you find yourself going down that route, just say pause. Where is my energy focus? Where could this energy be better spent than actually beating myself up about this? And it's not helping. It's really not helping. Because when we live in that shadow of something else, it's giving that person or that circumstance or that event the power. Okay, that event has got the power over us. That person has got the power over us. So we're just giving away our identity. We're giving away our power to others, right? So what we want to do is learn to take it back. So I'm going to go through a couple of things that we can do in order to think of that. So when you catch yourself thinking, these are some of the questions you can ask yourself, some of the thoughts you can journal about, some of the things that might help you to shift that, right? To shift your perspective from that blame, shame, feeling awful about the comparison, versus how else can I feel, and how else can I take my authenticity back, my power back, so that me and my dog can move forward in a positive, strong way. All right. So let's have a look. First of all, when we look at others, when we are looking at I'm going to use an example. There's somebody over there that has worked with their dog, they've worked through their reactivity and their oversensitivity, and they're now living a balanced, happy life. All right. They're out there living this beautiful, balanced, happy life. And we look at that person, we think, wow, I want to be there. I want to get there. I want to, live that life, etc. Sometimes what we're looking at is we're looking at those people's values. All right. So we're looking at that person and saying, what are their values in life that have allowed them to reach what they wanted to reach. Right. So let's say it was, I'm going to use the example of somebody reaching a title, a nosework title. Okay. That's something that I've looked in the past. Gosh, I would love to have done those titles with my dogs. I would have loved to been able to, continue with my nosework sport and really made it, got some really good titles for that. I've done that in the past, looked at people and thought, wow, I wish I could do that. And when I'm doing that, what I'm seeing those people's values, because they've attained those goals or those, they've aspired to something because that's so valuable to them. So probably in doing that, I'm not saying it's all of it, I'm just giving you a scenario. Is it likely that that person has their value for winning, their value for achieving, their value for being number one is so strong that they may have forgotten other things along the way? Maybe the dog is not really happy in those competitions. Maybe they've strived against all odds to get there, and they've left, their family behind. When I say left their family behind, perhaps they've spent so much time and effort doing that, that they have, not spent enough time with their family. So they've been just so devoted to winning and training nose work that they haven't spent that valuable time with their family, and their family may be lacking in that relationship. Maybe they don't have good relationships at home. Maybe they do, but maybe they don't. So what I'm trying to highlight here is that the values of people to get where they are sometimes not our values. They're not the same. So for instance, I would never put my dog's happiness and their their fun with nose work, I would never put that behind my will to achieve a title. All right. It's not about my will to achieve a title. I want to see them having fun. I want to see them enjoying it. Yes, it would be great because I know how good they are. So I would love to see them rewarded with a title because they're so good at it. But I'm certainly not going to let my, my need to feel recognized, etc., by having a title. So, but that's fine if it's somebody else's goal. It's fine if it's somebody else's value. That's 100% okay for them. But don't compare yourself, or if you do find yourself comparing, just ask yourself, are those my values? Are those really my values? Yes, it's wonderful that they've achieved that. But would I want to sacrifice things along the way in order to get that? Possibly. Question mark. So it's just something to consider, because we always need to remember that everyone has different values. Everyone, what they will succeed in. There's whatever you do, whatever you want to succeed in, there's always been a journey and a path to get there. All right. And sometimes those things that people have had to give up on the way to get there, or have to compromise on the way to get there, may not be your values. It may be fine. It may be their values. That's absolutely fine, but it may not be your values. So just consider that. Consider that sometimes we don't know the full story of that person's story. All right. And do we have the same values as them? So that's something to keep in mind. The second one is, yes, as I say, we don't know their full story, right? So sometimes we see only especially this comes in social media a lot, right? We see the good side. We see all the wows and the good moments, and the people jump on social media very quickly to share their wins and their achievements and the things that have sparked celebration, as it were. But very often they don't post about the things that aren't working for them, that make them feel sad, and that make them, all the things that they are really struggling with in life. So we don't know the whole picture as well of that person or that dog or whatever that situation is. So that's something to keep in mind. There is the game that I like to play, the 3 scenarios game, which we know is basically a guess 3 scenarios of what may be happening for that person or the dog, because we have our perception and our perspective, but there's another perspective and another story happening out there. So it's always mindful to think, well, we can only see one part of the story. What's the other part of the story? Okay. So here's another few things you can do instead. So here's one. So instead of, when you catch yourself doing that and you see yourself giving away your power to the other person or the situation, going down that road, can catch yourself, breathe, ask yourself these questions, and then look at and say to yourself, what have I achieved? What are the things that I've achieved in this journey with my dog, or alone as a person, or together as a team? What are the things we've achieved? And it doesn't have to be big. Again, it doesn't have to be titles or anything, but it's been things like, wow, we had a 0 relationship when my dog came to me. He came to me as a Charlie came to me as a rescue. We had to build a relationship from 0. We were 2 strangers. It wasn't like I had him as a puppy and we, nurtured him into this little dog that we had this relationship. He already was a teenager, and I, he had his history, I had mine. So we've built the most amazing relationship, and that took time and learning each other and compromise and all of these things, partnership that we had to learn in order to get that relationship. So that's something that I love to celebrate, is our amazing relationship that we've developed and grown over the years. That's something big, but it could be little things like, you know what, I learned how to communicate with my dog. I didn't understand their body language before. Now I do, and it's great. We can communicate. I know when they're feeling sad or upset. There's so much to celebrate. So make a list of all the things that you can do and that you have celebrated and that you are, excited about, that you've achieved or done or experienced in your life with your dogs. So write that list out. What are your achievements? What can you celebrate together? And this ties in with the next one, with gratitude. So find all the things that you're really grateful for in your life and do that daily. I love to do it just very briefly in the morning. Just think of 3 things that I'm grateful for right at the beginning of my day or at the end of the day, and look back on the day and say, wow, I'm really grateful for these 3 things that happened during the day. Another way to do it is when you see others succeeding and you get that twinge of jealousy or angst or whatever, like, oh, I'm not there. Make it your make it a thing to go back and really celebrate. Really put yourself in that person's position and feel what it must feel like for them to say, wow, I've achieved this. I've got there. I'm excited. Be excited for them, because we would want people to be excited for us when we celebrating something, when we've achieved something. So if you see somebody doing that and you feel that twinge and tang, I want you to just hold on to it, feel that feeling, and then say, can I feel differently about this? Can I put myself in that person's shoes and actually celebrate with them? Can I feel that, that achievement with them and celebrate with them? Because that's really, it's a very powerful thing to be able to do that, to really genuinely wish somebody well and feel their excitement for what they've achieved. So there's that one. Make your journey each day and not make your journey the goal each day of your journey the goal and not the future. So we're always looking for that future happiness when we've got XYZ, when we're there, when we've got to this space, or when we have achieved something, then we'll have that happiness. So make your journey each day the goal. So each day you should be looking at, what can I do today that's going to help us both feel good? What can I feel grateful for? What can I celebrate today? That's the journey, right? The journey is where we find those little wins each day instead of wanting something in the future, right? So celebrate, make the journey each day your goal versus waiting for the future. And remember, this is just a snapshot in time. So sometimes we forget, when we're in it, when we're in a dark space or in a difficult time, it feels like this is the only thing. And it is, because that's what we're currently experiencing. That's what we're currently living. But it's just a snapshot in your entire life. It's just a snapshot. If you can look back at all the things you've been through since you were a kid, it's just a little snapshot. It's just a fraction of a chapter of your life. And sometimes that helps to just put it into perspective sometimes, right? When we feel that it's so heavy and so dense and so all overwhelming. Do a social media check. I've had to do this for myself, where I kind of really pull back from social media, because you can often find yourself scrolling and scrolling, and wow, this one's achieved that, and this one's doing that, and this one's doing that, and it's like a mind overload. So do a social media check. Some of you may not have that. Some of you may need that. Just do a social media check and find out, do you need to detox? Do you need to get off social media? Because if it's triggering the wrong things in you, then it's not a good place to spend a lot of time. Train your brain to look for what you want to see more of. So I spoke about the reticular activating system in our brain and how that searches for things that we focused on. So if you consciously say, I want to focus on seeing things today in my life that I'm really proud of, that makes me really happy. If you put your intention on that, set your intention of what you do want to focus on, and see how those things start to be highlighted in your life and how they show up more, because then you'll have more reason to focus on the good stuff. Stop shoulding on yourself, right? I should have done this, I should have done that, I should have done ever. Again, when we're doing this, when we're shoulding on ourselves, we are living in the past. We're living on decisions that were made in the past. We're looking at choices that were made in the past that maybe didn't work out the way we wanted to. Maybe we didn't know better at the time, but there's no use hanging there. There's no use sitting there and spending time and energy wasting on that time. It's just going to bring you down even worse. So again, say those shoulds and could'ves and would'ves, etc., are all in the past. We can't change that. What we can do is say, that's led us to where we are now, and now I have choices to make something different going forward. All right. So this is, again, bring yourself back to the center. This is where I make the choices for my future going forward. Remember, words have power, so change your story, right? If you find yourself telling your story, I have a sensitive dog, I have a reactive dog, I have a life that's very small because of X, Y, and Z. If we keep telling ourselves these stories, that's what our mind is going to believe, and that's what we're going to believe. So we need to shift that. We need to watch the words that we're using for ourselves, to describe ourselves, to describe our dogs, to describe our situation and our life, and turn that around. So we could say something like, I'm really brave. I'm showing up for myself. It's tough. It's hard, but I'm there. I'm showing up for myself. I'm prepared to learn. I'm prepared to see different perspectives. I'm prepared to experiment and try different things. I'm showing up. I'm surrounding myself with a community here in the Pause Reflect, which is conducive to a good mindset. So all of these things, focus on those. Just those are the words you should be. They're words of encouragement, just like you would give to a friend. If they came to you and say, wow, I'm really struggling, you wouldn't say, gosh, I know you're doing it awful, you should have done this and you could have done that. And you don't talk to a friend like that. So don't talk to yourself like that. It's unfair. Give yourself words of encouragement, and be proud of what you're doing, and encourage yourself. And if you need encouragement from other people, then turn to the group and say, I need some encouragement, please help. Okay. So yeah, I think that's about it. I think that's really all I wanted to cover. Oh, there was one more. Remember that you are steps ahead of somebody else. So very often we see ourselves, we compare to somebody ahead of us or in front of us or different from us, but we forget that there's a lot of people who are still beginning their journey, who's just experiencing something. Perhaps they've just had their dog for a couple of weeks, a couple of months, and they're really starting to feel that huge overwhelm that we felt, many months ago or years ago. So there's a lot of people just beginning on this journey and feeling a lot worse than we are now, right? There may still be things that we're working with, that we're struggling with, but we've come a long way. And so we're many steps ahead of somebody else. And the best way to celebrate that is to look back and see if you can help anybody that's still there. So if you know anybody who's just entering this world of sensitive dogs, having an overreactive dog that's starting to turn their life upside down, go be there for them, be there, hold their hand. You are a couple of steps ahead of them, and you may be able to give some really beautiful support and words of advice to them as well. So that's my chat today. Hi, Tracy. Thanks for being here. So that's my chat for today. I just wanted to say thank you for being here. Remember to take your power back. That comparison journey just doesn't help us in many, many aspects, only if it's helping you to move forward. But certainly, catch yourself when you are comparing yourself to others, where you're comparing your journey, where you are with your dog. And just say, how can I turn this around using these ideas and tips that I've given you today? So thank you, everybody. Wishing you a wonderful week. And I'd love to hear your comments about this. You can comment below, and we'll see you next Tuesday again. Bye-bye for now.